What's up guys, it's your boy Java Monkey J here, and today we have an interesting discovery that has popped up on Reddit regarding Warcraft logs and the newest Wrath of the Lich King classic raid, Icecrown Citadel. A madman by the name of Falchrist has parsed out the kill information on Warcraft logs, giving us insight into how many groups killed normal versus hard mode bosses in ICC, and therefore finally answering what bosses are the most challenging for groups in ICC, and was ICC harder than we thought. Now, if you know me, you know I talk a lot of shit on the internet.
If you are wiping on Marrowgar, you need to leave your guild, you need to go to a different guild. This boss is brain dead easy.
And in my previous video, I made my predictions on which bosses would be hardest based on my experience in the PTR. But now that my guild has killed or attempted every boss on hard mode up to Lich King on live servers, and we have the Warcraft logs data, I can finally give you guys a balanced opinion on boss difficulty in the live version of the game. So let's find out together if I was wrong about the difficulty of this raid. And let's see if I deserved all the flame from my comment section on my tier list video, linked below. Let's get into it. The last bit of context I'll give before we take a look at this information is obviously accuracy. There's no telling how accurate this information is. It's just the best resource we have currently. This is data from Warcraft logs for the first week of ICC, and essentially this is hand counted by looking through individual reports and measuring which bosses were killed on what difficulty for each group. While this may be a bit inaccurate, it certainly is a better representation for boss difficulty than Warcraft logs, because Warcraft logs looks at how many kills are on a boss versus how many wipes are on that boss. And due to this, you get inaccurate boss kill percentages because some guilds will wipe 20 times before downing a boss, and another guild might one-shot the boss, leaving a lot of gray area in between, and potentially bloating boss kill percentages either up or down. Meanwhile, our information from Reddit only counts individual guilds and not individual parses on each boss, therefore giving us a better idea of how many guilds killed heroic modes versus guilds that killed normal modes. However, just for good measure, we will look at both graphical information and Warcraft log data just to see if there is more to each story. Let's first start with an easy boss to talk about, the Lich King. If you didn't see, the race to world first looked more like a speed run than an actual challenging progression. Top guilds turned Heroic Lich King into Swiss cheese, clearing ICC Heroic in just under 2 hours. On the other hand, one of the top rating guilds on my server, Grobulus, will likely go another week before being able to down the Lich King, meaning that in 3 weeks, there will finally be a Heroic Lich King kill on the Grobulus server. According to Warcraft logs, the first week of ICC saw 22 Heroic Lich King deaths. The first and second week combined saw a total of 71 Heroic 25-man Lich King kills, versus the first and second week of normal, which saw 7,548 kills for normal Lich King. This obviously shows a huge discrepancy between top-end guilds, professional guilds, and casual guilds. But I think that there is more to this that I would like to explore in a later video, so I'll chalk it up to the easy conclusion of I was right and this boss was hard as fuck. Looking at the graph, 2 bosses outside of the Lich King stand out for difficulty. Those bosses are Putricide and Syndragosa, with an 8% and a 13% heroic kill percentage in the first week. Going to ICC, I had placed these along with Blood Council in A tier, meaning they were extremely challenging bosses, and I think this was spot on. Outside of a bit of cheesing that can be done on Cindy using frost resistance gear, Syndragosa proves to be obviously less challenging than Putricide. This is largely because Syndragosa is strictly execute mechanics equals kill boss, whereas Putricide requires well-coordinated mechanics followed by great DPS uptime. However, Blood Council kill percentage on Heroic really threw me for a loop. Being that Blood Council was an A tier boss for me, seeing it come in at 22% kill rate on both our parse graph and also Warcraft logs was very shocking. In my mind, Blood Council is a difficult fight because of the amount of mechanics you have to deal with at a single time. But the health pools of the boss are extremely low, so DPS doesn't technically matter, meaning you can really focus on the mechanics you're supposed to be doing. And I guess while my guild really struggled on this, I guess others just did not. And honestly, I'm happy to see this. There's a lot of hate for classic players and their ability to do mechanics, but I think this boss just proves that maybe we should give them just a bit more justice. I'm happy to say that I was wrong about Blood Council, and this boss definitely deserves to go to B tier. The next block of bosses all sort of fall in within the same kill percentages, ranging from 20% to 28%. And I think this is a good category to fall into B tier, but I also do have some major grievances with some of these kill percentages on these bosses. And I think potentially some might disagree with me, so just hold on. Let's start off with the softballs. Queen Lanethel and Festergut fall in at exactly 28% heroic kill percentage, which I think is great for both of these. These are relatively easy bosses for a lot of guilds, and a lot of the community sort of agreed that in the Blood Quarter, Lanethel would be easier than Blood Council on heroic, so there's no surprise here. And also Festergut was known to be fairly straightforward as well, so much so that a lot of casual guilds will likely start progging these bosses on heroic or have already downed them. And I'm happy to keep both of these in B tier, and I think we got these ones right. But now it's time for the elephant in the room. I got a lot of heat in my comments from my previous video where I placed Sourfang in C tier and I placed LDW in B tier. According to the data, Sourfang had a 26% kill percentage and LDW had a 20% kill percentage. Meaning, if I was a good boy and I followed the current rankings so far in this video, both of these would be moved up. LDW would go to A tier since it was the 4th lowest kill percentage, and Sourfang would go to B tier because it lands smack in the middle for kill percentage. But because I am never wrong and I have already taken my L on Blood Council, I'm gonna make a hard stance here and say this. I'm still right, and you in the comments are still wrong. I think a lot of guilds, despite LDW and Sourfang being fairly easy fights, probably went normal on the first week or two for these bosses just to go in and put attempts on later hard mode bosses that they thought would be easier. Let me explain what I mean by that. On the first day of PTR, one of the top casual guilds, Fusion, spent about an hour and a half progging on LDW, and this sent some sort of like weird sentiment in the community that LDW was extremely challenging, when in reality this boss is literally just kill ads, dodge ghosts, get loot. I will never submit to this idea that LDW is a challenging boss. It's easier than Lich King, Putricide, and Cindergosa, and that's just a fact. It also requires less coordination than Blood Council, and it has more mechanics than Sourfang, Festergut, and Rotface. This lands it at B tier. Prove me wrong in the comments. I think Sourfang is an extremely easy boss to wipe on, and if guilds don't know the Divine Intervention strategy, where you essentially nullify 2 marks off rip, it could be challenging, but the fact is that in about a month, guilds will zerk this boss down in 2 minutes and not worry about almost any mechanics minus the tank swap. Meanwhile, bosses that had lower heroic kill percentages in week 1, for example, Blood Council, LDW, and Festergut, will still require you to respect mechanics. Sourfang deserves a C tier rank. Fight me in the comments. For the sake of completion, Lootship landed at 99% kill percentage, Marogar landed at 67% kill percentage, Rotface landed at 52% kill percentage, and Vlithria landed at 39% kill percentage. The only surprise here is that on my tier list, I am willing to swap Rotface for Brain Dead and Vlithria for C tier. But at that point, it's really splitting hairs and who cares. Rotface was definitely easier, and I think for a lot of guilds, Vlithria was more challenging because healers are simply just not used to doing mechanics. So there is a slight learning curve. Plus, the portals are so weird to trigger and sometimes they're just super buggy. Like you can go through them, but they still won't pop. So Blizzard, please fix this or something. So here we are post-release, 2 weeks after ICC, and I think I got 10 out of 12 bosses right on the tier list, which is pretty good. And there were really only a few surprises. And so we can answer the question, was ICC harder than we thought? No, it's exactly the difficulty we thought it was going to be because we did PTR in this place for almost 10 lockouts. Professional guilds obviously were going to kill the Lich King on hard mode within a day. I think some people didn't think it was going to be 2 hours. I certainly didn't, but with that much PTR time and the knowledge gap being so large, this was never going to be a several day event to prog the Lich King. There's just too much information and too much time to practice killing the boss. Hardcore guilds, on the other hand, have the same advantages. So while I didn't think it would take so long for a guild to kill Heroic Lich King on my server, I'm not surprised that they at least got to Heroic Mode Lich King within a few hours. I'll be posting a video showing you guys our adventure as a team for the first time through ICC, so be on the lookout for that shortly, and I hope you all have enjoyed the video and are enjoying the raid. I've been Java Monkey J. Peace.